Well, good afternoon, everybody, or good morning, or good evening, depending on where you are in the world. My name is Sue Daly. I'm the Director of Technology and Innovation at Tech UK, which is the UK trade association for the tech sector as a whole. And it is my absolute honor to be chairing this CIO panel discussion today for you. For the next 45 minutes, we have an amazing panel that I'll introduce in a minute to come up and speak with you all. We will be taking some Q&A as well throughout the discussion, so please use the Q&A function if something comes to your mind that you would like to ask our esteemed panel. So why are we here and what are we talking about today? Reflecting on a good topic of conversation, right? Looking at where we are right now. I'm coming at you live from another event up in Leeds in the north of England because the world is reawakening. We are emerging from the pandemic and COVID, which is absolutely brilliant. But it seems also that at the same time, we are facing another new wave, perhaps, of challenges facing us as businesses, facing us as individuals and as people as well. Supply chain issues, of course, the crisis in the Ukraine at the moment, the challenge of the climate and net zero, as well as the cost of living and other challenges that we all face. It seems at the moment that we're moving from one crisis to another. Challenges that we're all facing right now, which are common if you think about it in a way that perhaps we've never seen before. And it made me think of a quote from the MP, the late MP Joe Cox, who said, "We are far more united and have far more in common with each other than things that divide us." And that feels really real right now. So, reflecting on what we wanted to talk about today, what we've done is bring together leaders on this call, on this panel, so that we can have a bit of discussion about where we are, how are people managing these crises and the situation we're in right now, what is it that we're living through right now, how is that changing the role of their jobs, the CIO, and also I hope that we can start talking about how innovation, deep tech have helped address where the challenges that we've seen, but perhaps may also help us in what comes next as we, it seems, move from one to another challenging situation. So with that as a kind of setting the scene, I'd love to bring up our panel and get them to introduce each other. So I'm hoping that they are with us right now. So we've got a great panel of experts. Amit, Amit, are you there? Can you introduce yourself? If not, perhaps we have Chris. I know Chris is there. Hi, Chris.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, thank you for being there. Please do introduce yourself to everybody on the
Hi,
call.
my name is Christopher Ampofo. I'm the CIO for a cryptocurrency exchange called Uphold. In my role, I have several different teams reported to myself. So I have information security, I have data privacy, I've got knowledge management, procurement, and procurement reported, and fraud reported to myself in that capacity. So
Wow,
pleased to meet you all.
Yeah, well, thank you for being here. And that's a lot, right? So we'll perhaps come on to what all that means given where we are right now as well. Lester as well. Hi, Lester, are you there? Hi, Lester. Thank you so much for being with us. Please introduce yourself to everybody and a bit about your role.
Hi, my name is Lester Lowe. I'm the Chief Financial Officer for WeFlex, a startup in the electric vehicle mobility business. And we provide electric vehicles to the ride-hailing industry, like Uber, who's one of our strategic partners. In terms of my responsibility, finance is obviously key, but I'm responsible for the credit and collections area as well. We are a regulated business under the FCA. We don't, as a startup, we don't have a CIO. So given my previous background, very keen on technology as well. Yeah.
Great. Well, it's brilliant to have you with us and such experience. I'm sure everyone would agree. I'm just going to ask, has Amit able to join us? Are you there? If not, I think we'll kick off and hopefully, gents, he will join us as we go. I think there might be some technical difficulties behind the scenes. But look, let's kick off. And, we're talking a little bit about, the challenges that we've all been facing the last, what feels like 2.5 years, but also what we might be facing going forward. I feel like this could become a bit of a self-help, session. So, share, but also it's about, us sharing what we've been through, the challenges that you've seen, how you've managed them, so that others can learn, right? This is all about sharing best practice and sharing lessons learned and experiences. So perhaps, let's kick off. Chris, can I kick off with you and just,
Sure.
In your role, and you just said yourself, you're handling a lot of different areas and lots of different issues. I would imagine challenges as well around, regulation, customer experience, business growth at the same time. What's your experience? How have you been handling those issues, and within the current situation that we find ourselves in? How's it been going?
It's been tough, and if we look at, I guess, if we talk about the challenges to start with COVID. Now, I think as a company, we were quite fortunate in the sense that we were cloud first, and we predominantly remote working. Now, we're a global company with offices in Portugal, US, London, all over the world, and where our employees are located. So we were not impacted as a result of the COVID and people working from home. Yes, we have bricks and mortar offices in Portugal where our development happened, but they were able to shift away and all start working remotely from home without any impact on the company. We actually saw the other positive aspects where we were more productive in that regard. And we've kept that model. Yeah, people can still come into the office if they want, but they can work from home, where we looked at security aspects and make sure all the tech and security-wise, we weren't reducing our security exposure by the working from home. So yeah, we didn't experience anything in that regard. Okay, if we fast forward to now going to business as usual in this new kind of climate, what are the challenges that we're facing? We actually went through our FCA approval with our UK entity, and that was very difficult because that focused on compliance and all the regulatory aspects that come into play. And that was very difficult. We're one of the few crypto companies that have actually got the FCA license. They come from a position where it obviously is a new market for them, so very stringent. So we've successfully managed to get through that. What were the challenges that we faced? Resourcing, engineering. We had to do a lot of changes to our applications, meaning that the solution, in order to meet the requirements of the FCA. And what we found that in this COVID climate, in this new climate, finding engineering resourcing has been very challenging. It is the people's now world where they can really command ridiculous salaries for roles where a couple of years ago, they were very easily available, and we're having to compete with other companies in our space as well as further afield, where engineering is pretty much is their game. They can command whatever salary they want, and then there's no loyalty as well. They know that once they join, they can shift away. And someone else will pick them up straight away. So we're having to focus on contractors, and that's not sustainable, and because one, you suffer from them actually being part of the company, because everyone in the company is an owner of the company. Contractors, they come in, they do their work, and there isn't that connection with the company, ethos and everything else. So that's been difficult, and we continue to face that. We've set ourselves a challenge where we need to recruit about 300 engineers over the course of this year to next year. That's unrealistic, and we're struggling to know how we're going to challenge that. Yeah. So there's some of the challenges that we're facing.
Thanks, Chris. Really fascinating. Already have so many questions in my head. Before I come to you, Chris, just on your resource question though, is it that the people with the skills and the level and the experience that you need just aren't in the market, or the people are, but that I think what you're trying to say is they know their worth, right? So they can ask for what they know it's a competitive market, or is it just that the people aren't there?
People aren't there. They aren't there because they've been snapped up. They've been snapped up very, very quickly, and we're struggling. So what do? Do you go for a lower level person and then train them up? Well, the problem that we have is that we've also got quite a tight deadline to deliver
Yeah.
products and deliver solutions to grow, because it's now become a very competitive market. And as you guys, everyone can appreciate, the crypto market was completely it was very, very buoyant. So companies were growing. We've grown in a number of X's where we didn't predict this kind of growth.
Yeah.
And now, obviously, there's a downturn, but that's bringing its own challenges. But still, we still need to meet those targets in order to deliver our product, in order for us to be competitive. So no, the people aren't there. People aren't there because they've been snapped up.
All right. Thanks for that, and thanks for that insight as well, because Tech UK, we do a lot of work around the digital skills gap that we know we're facing in the UK. But it's great to be able to hear from leaders like you as to, what is really, we get a sense of what's happening on the ground, but, it's great to hear and happy to talk about it offline of how we might be able to help. But Lester, love to come to you in terms of, and I felt like I needed to start by asking you both, how are you? Are you okay? So Lester, I hope you're doing good, but also, love to get your perspectives of what are some of the challenges that you've seen, in the recent past, or you're looking at going forward. And of course, you're in the kind of, transition phase, right? About the electric vehicles, the net zero debate, which is a challenge that, of course, was here before COVID, but it hasn't got away, and it's the front of everybody's minds. So, how are things going with you, and what are some of the challenges, some of the issues that you're facing?
So during COVID, the business went through very challenging times. A lot of our customers, especially in the first lockdown, they couldn't drive, so a lot of their earnings basically took a massive dive. So you probably describe our business as a typical V shape. So we during COVID was basically survival for us and our customers, and preservation of cash. We had great support from our lenders and also our shareholders, as being a startup business, and also supporting our customers as well through forbearance and keeping as many of our customers sustainable financially. And then as we started coming out from COVID, business started taking off again. Basically, our customers, started going out. You could see a lot of activity in London. We're sort of gone from sort of famine to feast now. Key for us is similar challenges. How do we raise more funding to support the growth of the business now? And what Chris, echoing what Chris was saying, keeping talent, is key. Retention is key as we came out of COVID, and now we're in a growth phase. Is not only retaining the talent, being a startup, we can't compete with banks, who have bigger budgets to attract staff. We have to retain staff on different initiatives, and now it's recruitment. How do we recruit to scale up the business? I suppose challenges for us, even before the war, there were a lot of headwinds around inflation, cost pressures going up. We're still seeing a lot of supply chain challenges, particularly around semiconductors. They feed into electric vehicles.
Yeah.
Talent shortages. I suppose with now the war, it's added another sort of challenge for us, keeping vigilant on cyber threats, etc.
Certainly a lot of different factors and different industries all at play, or different issues all at play at the same time. And I just wonder whether, both of you have been working in industry for some time, whether does this feel different, the situation that we're in now, given there are multiple issues at play, or has that always been the case and it's just perhaps, amplified given what we've all been through in the last 2 years? I don't know if anyone had a view.
From my perspective, it doesn't. We're not really affected by it. It's just this new world that we have to get used to. Yeah.
Yeah, indeed, and all help each other, which is what these sessions are all about. How can we share and how can we experience? Lester, you mentioned about funding. I was just wondering if I could ask you in terms of how and obviously, Chris, it will impact your industry and sector as well in terms of funding. As we emerge from the pandemic, as the real world starts to reawaken and we, I hate to use the word get back to normal because I don't think it will ever be normal, but what's the funding landscape look right now? Is the conversations open? Is that a challenge, or is that actually just more, it's coming back and the conversations are there and the funding rounds are, progressing as they did?
Yeah, until recently, we sort of been raising small amounts of money. So we just raised something 10 million just before Christmas. That should keep us going until sort of middle-ish of this year. So we're now raising quite substantial sums this year to fund our growth for the next 2 to 3 years. There is quite a lot of money out in the market, but you need to be you need to have a sustainable story in business to attract those investors. Fortunately we're sort of past the sort of initial phases. We are profitable and we generate cash, so we're now sort of in a position to explain the growth story, how we can support the expansion of electric vehicles in London. Yeah, obviously supporting Uber, one of our strategic partners in London, to expand the fleet of electric vehicles.
Yeah, brilliant. And Chris, I don't know if you have a view or what your insight of the funding landscape looks right now. Would you agree? Is there other conversations happening? Is there money around for folk who are looking to invest?
Yeah, if you asked me this question a year ago, where the crypto market was very buoyant, that was a completely different landscape, where there was a lot of money around, a lot of interest in regards to investing in a company like ours. Now the market's taking a downturn. People are being cautious about investing, especially in our company, our growth. We were looking quite a large ticket size. So yes, people are still interested, but it's not as easy as it was last year.
Interesting. And I suppose I have a kind of looking ahead, maybe, and I'd love to get your views also on how some of the innovations, some of the deep techs and technologies have helped you through the situations that we've been through. But just thinking ahead, and Chris, you mentioned, or you both mentioned talent. Is that what keeps you guys awake at night? Is that the top of the list, or is there something else that really kind of worries you about where we might be heading, or what might be in our future? Lester, why don't I come to you first? What's the top of your list?
I think the inflation and supply chain are probably key for us, because inflation not only increases the prices of the vehicles, but more importantly, it impacts the earnings of our customers. Yeah, so we're starting to see earnings, potential earnings of customers if ridership drops. If individuals' personal earnings drop, they don't go out, they don't use the riderships sort of drop, our customers' earnings sort of drop. Fortunately, it's still it's strong out there, but how sustainable? Everybody's feeling cost pressures, energy prices are going up, and cost pressures at home. interest rate rises again, inflation feeds into, it's sort of like a vicious circle. It feeds into interest costs as well. Then it also impacts people's disposable incomes. Talent is very high on the list, because without good people you can't grow. So it's trying to balance all these different challenges, and I think adaptability and agility is key right through. I mean, it's not something new with technology. We've always, with big transformation programs which I've run, you've got to be adaptable, you've got to be agile. The goalpost keeps on moving. So it's very similar in our business environment today.
Yeah, it's interesting that, because we are an industry that is used to change, right? We're an industry that evolves. There's an industry that develops quite quickly, and I got into tech probably over 20 years ago now. I'm showing my age, but it's been a while. But it's kept me on my toes ever since I joined it. So yeah, Chris, love to ask you the same question. Is it talent that's at the top of your list? What keeps you awake at night? What wakes you, if you're like me, what wakes you up in the middle of the night?
Yeah, I guess I've got the fortunate position of having so many responsibilities. So there's a lot that keep me awake at night. I mean, the talent thing is just, of course, a part and parcel of doing business. That's a more long-term problem. Yes, we'll just ride with the wave and do the best we can in order to recruit accordingly. But then we look at all the different areas. So if we start with fraud and information security. Now, in our market, as the company is growing, you tend to attract a lot more security issues, being fraudsters, okay? Because they recognize that the market is a lot of money, where now you're susceptible to fraudsters trying to knock in on our door or affecting our customers. So what keeps me awake at night on the security side and making sure that, one, we're protected, because the cybersecurity landscape is forever changing. And the fraudsters are very, very smart in the method that they use. So using technology and looking at suppliers to help us complement our security stack is a completely different swim lane that I'm focusing on. Then you look at fraud. Cybersecurity is about protecting the front door, so to speak. Fraud, okay, protecting our customers and making sure that we're complying with regulatory challenges and so forth. So yes, again, using tech, how do we protect that? But it's about getting the balance right. Because fraud, their main target is to stop fraud. They don't focus on the customer. Okay, yes. So therefore, I need to balance that and make sure that fraud is educated enough. Well, yeah, you may limit fraud, but you need to also be sensitive about the customer, because we're holding their money. If you stop them straight away, they're in a difficult position where we've got different challenges that we need to deal with on that side. And then we flip over to compliance. As I mentioned, we just recently got FCA regulations. One of the key things, your transaction monitoring systems and your compliance systems, making sure that all the different false positives are not taken care of, because you can't have a large number of false positives. It means that you've got issues. So again, the tech side, making sure that the technology we're using for transaction monitoring is not generating a lot of noise that you can't sustain. Okay, so that's also been a challenge that we're dealing with, and making sure that the right partner and the systems are tweaked across all the different areas of the business.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think we had Amit. I think he was there, and then I think I've lost him again. So I'm going to keep going, guys. And when he comes back, hopefully we can get him to introduce himself and bring him into the conversation. But you both teed up kind of the question I was going to ask you both as well, around, okay, given the challenges and given what we might be looking ahead, particularly talent, and of course, Chris, cyber and fraud, absolutely. Particularly, I completely agree. The online threat environment never stops, right? And of course, we're seeing increased cybersecurity threats and risks given where we are right now. Because obviously we're at a DeepTech innovation event, so thinking about what are the technologies that have and you kind of started there, Chris, so maybe coming to you, but what are the technologies that you've been employing or using, or what do you think are the deep tech technologies that could potentially help address some of these challenges? So, I'm thinking AI, I'm thinking, for fraud, Chris, right, digital identity and things like that. Are there particular technologies that you think, so it's thinking a bit more about, okay, we know the challenges, but what can we do about it? Are there technologies that you guys are looking to support and help some of these challenges? I don't know, Chris, do you want to pick that up first?
Yeah, so a lot of the solutions that I've been looking at is looking at the AI, because the human behavior, the human being the person changes, and you need something that will obviously adapt accordingly. So yeah, the fraud solution that we're using completely built on AI and it continues learning. Okay, as the landscape is changing, or as the pattern of the thing is changing, and that's taken care of. But then a lot of the false positive then is dealt by humans, and that's the exception, right? So the tool will do most of the work for you, and the same thing. So then the compliance, transaction monitoring system, again, AI is key, and that's what's focusing on, making sure that it gets that right. And again, it's only the exceptions that require the human aspects to take care of it.
Yeah, and I suppose I was also thinking about, given the talent, don't get me wrong, this isn't what's AI is going to replace people, because I passionately believe it's about AI supporting people and supporting roles. It's about that augmentation, right? But given the talent crisis that you both identified, are AI technologies or AI-enabled technologies, are they potentially a way of addressing some of the talent issues as well, the talent shortages? Are there solutions that could support organizations to do things whilst they're looking for those people to come through the talent pipeline? Lester, I don't know if you have a thought on that in terms of, or are there other technologies that you think, if we embrace, could help given the talent crisis, the shortage that we're facing?
I think for our business, I think the future AI is going to be something that's extremely useful, because we are collecting a lot of data. So it's not just data of our customers, our ridership, etc. But the big thing is around, for electric vehicles, is around battery performance. So we are, we've got telematics. We are collecting a lot of data across multiple sort of platforms, different types of vehicles, understanding the driver behavior of how they manage the battery, how frequent they charge it, etc. So as we start accumulating all of that data, having some analytics capability, some AI capability, will give us a lot of insight and give our customers better insight of how to manage their vehicles. And similarly, I think manufacturers will be also very interested to understand that information. So that's it's not the core part of the business, but I mean that's future as we start developing all of that. In terms of using AI to the current business, yes, some companies use a lot of the data to map different personas of groups of people's characteristics, etc. So that may be something to look at. Obviously, we're accumulating a lot of interesting data. It's now how to utilize it once we get sufficient volumes of data.
Yeah, you raised a good point, because it's not all just about artificial intelligence, machine learning, right? Pure data analytics has, I think, helped a lot of organizations through the pandemic as well to understand patterns of behavior, or what's happening, or to manage their own supply chains. I just wondered, Lester, if that's something that you saw, particularly in your sector, in your industry, data analytics tools, technologies, was it helpful to kind of manage the crises, manage the challenges as they evolved during the pandemic?
We are not that sophisticated yet in terms of our evolution, but definitely it's a plan to do it. Our sort of top priorities was to come out of COVID. Now is accelerating the growth, expanding the business, in terms of people, physical location. Systems is always key. As a startup, we use multiple best of breed systems in the cloud. Next stage, which a lot of big corporates have done, that is integrating all these systems, because we've got pockets of good data in these systems. So harvesting the architecture of all these different systems and the data sources, etc. So that's why I say we are sort of in the early evolution of that journey.
Yeah. There's a lot of people, a lot of organizations, feels like to me, have been on that journey, particularly the last couple of years. So I think I'm sure there are people listening now who have got experiences or lessons they can learn, but there's definitely a lot of people that have been through that journey. So, one of the reasons why I love working in tech and this community is that, we do share, we do, learn from each other. And this is why these kind of discussions are really, really key. So I really appreciate you guys being so open as well. Now I have more questions, but I also see that there are questions in the chat. So thank you for sending those through, guys. We had one around crypto, which obviously, Chris, I'm going to bring to you if that's all right.
Sure.
That would make sense, right? Lester's like sigh of relief. Tesla announced accepting crypto as a mode of payment. Do you see this becoming normal across the board? And actually, I had a question around where do you think disruption, or where do you think the next big thing is going to come from in your area? So, Chris, is that it? Is announcements like that what's going to disrupt and move you guys forward?
That's a great question. Now, obviously, I'm very partial in where I think crypto is going to go, but I just see the reality. I see the reality where things are going. So, where we see, which our main focus is to allow crypto to be used as normal legal tender. Okay, now what I mean by that is that you want to be able to go to your supermarket and then buy your groceries by using crypto as a method of doing it. Okay, now what we've done is that as Uphold, we've actually launched our debit card in the US, where you can have your crypto assets, and that will be linked to your debit card. So you can choose your wallet. So you could choose your Ethereum, your Bitcoin, your Dash, or whatever wallet which you want to spend. So therefore, when you go and spend your card, we do the conversion for you. You take a portion of your crypto asset, we convert it to fiat, and you pay for your groceries. So we launched that a few years ago in the US, and that's going out very, very, very well. That's doing very well. And then now we're actually launching our debit card in UK very, very soon. I think we're going general availability in the next couple of weeks or a month, where same thing, it'll allow you to do use your crypto assets to actually start your normal daily lives. So yeah, Tesla have already started it. We see other companies who are starting to accept crypto as a legal tender soon. So that's going to be changing. And that's one of the main drivers for our FCA regulation, because we want to make sure that we're properly licensed in all the different jurisdictions. So, yeah.
Fascinating, Chris. Thank you. And I would love to talk more to you about that. In fact, that could be a panel in itself as well, right? So love to follow up with that. But Amit, you've joined us. Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you well, Sue. And I guess we faced some last-minute office firewall issues. Yeah.
Some challenges that's a challenge in itself, right? But I'm so glad you could join us, and thank you so much for being here. So I hope my other two panelists don't mind me just asking Amit, could you introduce yourself to everybody and just talk a little bit about your role? And we were talking when we were kicking off about some of the challenges that you have faced in your role and your business over the last couple of years, and also, if that's not too much to ask, are there what's the top of your list in terms of challenges or barriers or issues as we move ahead as well? That what's on your mind? What keeps you awake at night?
Sure. So yeah, I first of all apologize for the delay, right, in joining. And like I said, it just shows that the security infrastructure is working, which is the good news. So just to introduce myself, I run IT for my company Baker Hughes in the Middle East, North Africa, Turkey, and India region. I also run all of our customer-facing platforms, which we call digital customer experience for Baker Hughes from the digital technology function globally. In terms of what are the big things playing up in our in our mind at this point of time, of course, like everyone else, it's been COVID and returning to work and getting employees back to office across the 26 countries that I manage in the region, ensuring that we are able to support the transition back to offices as COVID stabilizes in our region. Ensure that any supply chain issues that we face from the Russia-Ukraine conflict, etc., are addressed, and then of course cybersecurity, right? So those are the big topics that we are focusing on as a company. In terms of some of the big things as we look ahead, we of course remain focused on adding value for our customers in this period of turbulence, looking at how can technology still continue to enable a great customer experience, both from a functionality perspective, from an experience perspective, and of course from a brand perspective. How do we keep on reinforcing our positive message? What keeps me awake at night, possibly with all the turbulence in the recent few months, it's probably the risk of a cybersecurity attack. Yeah. Thanks.
Thanks, Amit. And that was brilliant summation of where you're at. And I think I kicked us off by saying I think there's more things that feels really real right now that connect us and divide us. And actually, I think a lot of your
I can't
points,
hear you, Sue.
others on. Can everybody else hear me? Lester, Chris?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, we can.
Sorry, I make sure I had unmuted myself because that's also a challenge in these world. But yeah, Amit, hopefully you can hear me. But I think you flagged issues, supply chain issues, cybersecurity issues, the returning to work issues are common across the panel. And actually, Amit, if you can hear me, we actually had a question in the chat around hybrid work. You talk about getting people back to work, and the emerging for the COVID. Hybrid working is now becoming the norm, but we're also seeing issues around productivity, cybersecurity, etc. So looking forward, what do you see as the model of work? Which is a great question. And Amit, I don't know if you can hear me, whether you have a view on that. What's the future of work look like for you and your organization? Okay, I think we might have technical difficulties there. Chris, Lester, I don't know if either of you want to jump in on that. I mean, future work, is there a model of the future work that you think? Oh.
Yeah, so yeah, one thing that we do notice is the definition of change, right? So the whole.
Oh, I'm so sorry, we've lost him. Oh, I'm so sorry, Amit. And apologies, everybody. Clearly, technical difficulties. But Chris, Lester, I don't know if either of you want to touch on that. Future work.
I could probably step in. I suppose for our company, there's sort of two groups. Those that are customer facing and need to be in the office as much as possible to meet customers. The other group is probably more back office support functions, where the hybrid working can work for that group of people. I suppose our challenge, being a sort of smaller company, is how do we bridge the two groups to, as we grow, and bringing on new people as well. Yeah, how do we keep that, the culture, the values, the small family sort of ethos, as a business. So that, I suppose that those are the sort of things that we are trying to balance within our business. Yeah, well, there's no right or wrong answer. It's just trying to learn as we progress along. Yeah.
Yeah, because getting that culture right, Chris, is to me and is key to not just getting new talent in, but retaining the talent you have, right? So getting that culture right is about keeping people in the business, particularly if you've got a challenge about getting people, you want to keep people.
Yeah. I mean, from our perspective, as I mentioned, where we weren't really affected in regards to the working environment, but we face a different challenge now, where as we've grown, we've pretty much doubled our team, our employees. People want to meet colleagues. People want to socialize with their colleagues. So we just recently actually got our London offices, I think about just under a year ago. We're encouraging people to come back, where now it's a completely buzzing live environment. And it's more purely for the social aspect, because working remotely has different negative impacts. You do want to meet your colleagues. So that's the effect. But we make it completely optional for people to come into the office, and it's having a positive effect, purely from a social, meeting your colleagues and interacting with them.
Yeah, because we have to remember this, and this is a wild generalization, apologies, but there are a lot of young people that work in our industry, and we want more people to come into our industry. So how do we make it not just a job? We make it, part of your life. And I've definitely seen that in our organization, and definitely seen that. I'm here at the AI Tech North event, and there's loads of young people here, and it is buzzing, which is just brilliant. Well, look, guys, go on, Chris.
I'll say we made a conscious effort, and purely based on that, to make sure that our offices in London is right in the centre of Carnaby Street, where there's so much life for people who know Carnaby Street. If you just roll out of the offices, you've got so many bars and restaurants around where you are. And we did that, purely, it may have cost us quite a bit, but the benefit of having that social interaction was quite key. And it's been very positive. Yeah.
Definitely. When I'm next down that way, I'm coming to see you, Chris. That sounds brilliant. But look, we've run out of time. I was going to ask both of you a really quick, what's your prediction for the rest of 2022? Just very 30 seconds, something positive. What do you think? What's your main prediction for the year ahead? Lester, go.
I, personally, being in sort of the sort of ESG sort of sector, I'm hoping with the war, pressures on oil, we have some technology that will help accelerate the shift to renewables. So that's my sort of prediction with the demand of oil, and we have to move to net zero. How can technology help us is sort of my key.
Wow, that's a great one. Chris, final word?
My final word, I think it goes back to the question that was asked from one of the people that was asked about where do we see crypto going. I mean, I don't know if most of you know, Joe Biden just signed an executive order to understand the benefits of and disadvantages of the rest of the crypto. So what I see in 2022 and not long after that, crypto will become that legal tender. People are going to become more comfortable with crypto, using crypto, and start investing, not just hedging, but actually using it as a method of payment. So that's what I predict.
Brilliant. Well, look, we started talking about the tough years that we've been going through, and the new wave of challenges that we are facing. And let's face it, it's a really difficult time in the world right now. And I just say to you both and everybody listening, we've got to take care of each other, and at this difficult time. But we've ended on such a high as well in terms of looking at the opportunities, and we are moving forward, right? The sun is shining, and we will get through this one step at a time, and we will get through this together as well. So I hope that you have found that conversation as fascinating as I have. I'm so sorry, Amit, and couldn't join us, but then unfortunately technical problems. But just Chris, Lester, thank you so much for being an awesome panel and for sharing your experiences and sharing your advice and sharing your thoughts. So thank you so much for being with us. So that brings this session to a close. But you will soon get a poll that will ask for feedback on this session. There you go. Did you find the panel discussion insightful? So please, can you fill in? And don't be scared. Fill in what you think, because they're looking for feedback. And then this will come to a close, but there is more to come. So at the top of the hour, there will be another session focusing on cloud management. And then following that, there will be another session and presentation on cloud identity, which is a really hot topic. So more to come with this event. So please come back at 3 o'clock or on the hour for the cloud management session. And in the meantime, that gives you 13 minutes to fill in your poll, grab a cup of coffee or grab a cup of tea. And it leaves me to say thank you so much to our amazing panel. And I really hope you've enjoyed the session. And with that, I will say goodbye, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sue. Bye. See you, Chris.
See you.
Bye, guys.